I was 18 and I was seeking employment. I answered an ad in a newspaper to go apply for what I thought was a job. This gentleman pulled in right behind me and he got out of his car. And I'll never forget that his watch, the sun hit his watch and it glistened. And that man was dressed like $1,000,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that every one of you here are hired. There is no tool better than you, your skills, your social skills, communication skills, leadership skills. People buy you first. When you are presenting, you're going to be, and this is a fact, 35 more times effective in person than you are trying to just do it virtually. Documentation beats conversation. Also, knowledge creates confidence, confidence creates action, and action creates results. We always say the KISS method, keep it simple and stupid. There are those that are wave makers, and there are those that are wave catchers. Almost everyone that gets in network marketing gets in because of desperation. I began my network marketing business in a dumpy apartment, sleeping on a floor in a futon on a mattress. People enjoy giving their opinion. So when you ask someone for their opinion, most people will give it to you. A lot of times we just want to talk, 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 talk. I even had a plane, a yacht, Mercedes, BMW, a house on the beach, lost it all, lost everything, and started all over again. And that's when I got smart.
Hey network marketers, if you want to know what sets the top leaders apart in this business, you've come to the right spot. We are a sales and marketing agency working with the best in the business. And in our podcast, we are diving deep into their secrets. From mindset to recruitment to onboarding like pros, we're here to show you how they do it. Plus, we've got actionable steps you can use to rise to the top, no matter where you are in your journey. Get ready to level up and dominate. Welcome to the MLM Duplication Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the MLM Podcast. My name is Tika, and today we have a veteran in the network marketing industry. Dave Daughtrey lives in San Diego, California, where he and his wife Gabriela have raised 5 amazing kids. Dave was introduced to direct sales industry in 1978 at the age of 18. This is where he learned the art of the presentation. In 1981, Dave was introduced to network marketing. Fortunately, he had some great mentors to lean on when it comes to understanding the business model of network marketing and what it takes to be successful. Unfortunately, for several years, Dave found himself bouncing around from company to company, and this wasn't by his choice. It was because the companies that Dave was involved with lasted only a few years. Finally, in 1998, they found the perfect business partner, a company where he could build a solid network. And over the past 26 years, Dave has built a worldwide network that spans over 100 countries. And Dave's current organization has been paid well over $2 billion. Dave himself has earned well over 8 figures. Being a networker isn't what Dave does, it's who he is. And we are so happy to have you on our podcast, Dave. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start with this. You said that you were introduced when you started as 18 years old, and you learned the art of the presentation. What is that in your own words, the art of the presentation?
It's kind of a funny story, actually. I had applied for a job. I was 18 and I was seeking employment. And I answered an ad in a newspaper to go apply for what I thought was a job. And I'll never forget, because when I pulled into the parking lot at the office complex, this gentleman pulled in right behind me and he got out of his car. And I'll never forget that his watch, the sun hit his watch and it glistened. And that man was dressed like $1,000,000. It was, a young man in his 20s. And you could tell that he was quite successful. So I went and looked for this office that I was going to go interview. So I thought, I walked in and sat down, and there was a lot of people sitting at desks like a school. And all of a sudden, in walks the same gentleman, the young man that I saw in the parking lot. And he just walked up front and he told everybody, he said, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that every one of you here are hired. Well, a lot of people thought it was a joke, and there was probably about maybe 30 plus people in the room. Most of them got up and left. I was curious. And by the time he was done, I ended up leasing from him a set of cutlery. that I made payments on. And I learned basically to become what is called Cutco, a cutlery salesperson. And what I was more interested than anything was him, learning from him. And he's the one that taught me the art of the presentation. And I remember his name today. John Gecko was his name. And so funny thing is I ran into him many, many, many years later at a network marketing seminar. So he got involved in networking as well. But he was my first mentor, and it was direct sales. So I learned the art of the presentation. Presentations can be very visual when you're dealing with something like knives. And so I could cut a coin with a pair of scissors in half instantly. I could cut tomatoes razor thin, So I just learned the importance of presenting. People are very visual. So if they can see something, you can use all their senses, you're going to be more successful. So he's the one that taught me the art of the presentation.
So presentations are a huge deal in network marketing. What do you think a perfect presentation has to have?
Well, first of all, when you're presenting to someone, as I mentioned, you want to try to use, all of the senses as much as possible. And that's why my personal opinion today, where everyone tries to just do everything virtually, doing Zoom calls and using social media, there's a place for that. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit in our podcast. They're tools, but there is no tool better than your skills, your social skills, communication skills, leadership skills. So I tell people, look, people buy you first. So when you are presenting, you're going to be 35, and this is a fact, 35 more times effective in person than you are trying to just do it virtually. So I love being with people. I love presenting, whether it's a one-on-one or me, in front of 15,000 people. That was the biggest audience I had at one time. And so people buy you. So in presenting, being visual, obviously, if they're going to buy you, how do you look? How do you speak? How do you carry yourself? Your level of knowledge, and so I say documentation beats conversation. Also, knowledge creates confidence, confidence creates action, and action creates results. So it begins, really up in your head, and people buy you first. So when you're presenting, I'm real big on products. I'm not so big on services. But if you have a product, make sure that people can see it, feel it, try it. You want to use all their senses. If it's a high impact product, like I have a personal product that I share, and it's a high impact product, they'll feel it within 10 minutes. So I'll say, hey, take a sip of this. Tell me how you feel in 10 minutes. Try to use all their senses.
So how important it is the energy when you are presenting, and what people can do if, for example, and many of us have different stages in life, different days. What should people do? Do you have some tips on how to be energized when you don't feel like it? You know what I mean? You have to do the presentation, but you don't feel like it.
Let me tell you, that's a great question. There is motivation and there's discipline. Discipline is what gets you across the finish line. Discipline is what gets you to your goal. Motivation comes and goes. I've had days where I don't feel motivated, but I'm disciplined, you see. Number two, I can't get on a presentation and talk to someone and feel down. So I tell people, if you're feeling down, the best thing you can do is present. Because once you start presenting, talking to someone, it just, you feel it, the energy, you just can't present and feel depressed. So, I enjoy presenting. For me, it's fun. I look at it like playing a game of chess, because I make a move, you make a move. And these are the one-on-one presentations. If I'm in front of an audience, then obviously it's more formal. But I've had my days, definitely, where I feel down. I look at the telephone, and it looks like it weighs 100 pounds, and I don't want to pick it up, but I do it. That's the discipline. That's what will get you to the level of success that you're looking for.
Do you have interactive presentations? Are you for it? In a way that you present something, then you ask questions, or would you not advise that? And can you speak about the timing, how long it should be, and stuff like that?
Well, first of all, in today's world, people's attention span isn't very long. It's kind of I say sometimes like a gnat. It's like you come and go instantly. But I'm not a big fan of presentations that go over 1 hour. So I think you can do a decent presentation on a company, a product, how to get started, a bit about the pay plan. And people sometimes they get so deep into pay plans, it's like it's over your head. No, keep it simple. Keep it simple. We always say the KISS method. Keep it simple and stupid. But you want to be able to do it within about 30 minutes or so, and then have a couple of testimonies. Testimonies are critical. There's the old saying, stories sell, facts tell. People love stories. In fact, honestly, if you're giving people just a bunch of facts about your product, they're only going to remember at the most 20% of what you said. A good story, they're going to feel it. And they always remember about how they felt. So when they feel something, they'll remember that. If you're just going with facts, at the most 20%, they'll remember. So in presenting, your energy is critical. They buy you first. Make sure you got, and if you're not prepared to do this, that's what a sponsor is for. That's what an upline is for. I tell people, don't do this alone. Strength in numbers, law of averages. All right. It's critical. And that's the number one reason people don't succeed in this business, because they try to do it by themselves. So in presenting, if you feel like you need support in presenting, that's what your sponsor is for. That's why it's called multi-level, by the way.
And when they don't have like success stories, they are just starting, can they would you advise them to use a mentor story or like someone else?
Borrow the story. You borrow someone else's story, And look, there's some people that have been in this industry long enough that they know how to make a wave. We talk about waves. Ride the wave, okay? There are those that are wave makers, and there are those that are wave catchers, all right? Someone who knows how to make a wave, they know how to start a story, develop a story about your product. But even Tony Robbins talks about that, in network marketing, the greatest companies are those that have a product with a story behind it. So you develop that story and you build upon that story. If someone's new and they don't have a personal story, because there's more than one story here. There's a story of your company, your product. That's all part of the story. But if someone's going to buy you, and I get it, because it's like, well, I don't have a new car yet. I don't have the new house. I don't have the lifestyle that I can sell. Well, frankly, almost everyone that gets in network marketing gets in because of desperation. It's either desperation or inspiration, and usually it's desperation. And so they're all beginning their story. And that's what makes it so great. You hear these stories of people that started with nothing, and I was one of them. I began my network marketing business in a dumpy apartment, sleeping on a floor in a futon on a mattress. That's where I began, but I was motivated. You see, that's my story. So borrow someone else's story as you build your story. But your story doesn't have to be that you went from zero to making $100,000 in 90 days. No, that's not realistic, right? You have to build your story in steps, even baby steps sometimes, and that there's just a lot of ways that you can do that.
How much do you rely on personalization when presenting, so that maybe you get to know who the person is and basically tailor your presentation to who they are, maybe what are their needs, what are their maybe good things that they have for themselves or something that they can leverage? So how important is that part when you're doing presentation?
Big time important. In my plan of action, step number 3 is identify. You identify your audience, you identify your prospect. Now, I use colors. You might have heard of the magic of colors. I use colors to identify people. Some people make decisions based upon knowledge. Some people make decisions based upon emotion. Mm-hmm. Some people are very formal. Everything they do is structured. Those are your CEOs, presidents, people like that. And then there are those people that really it's more about the connection. They're going to be more of your socializers. I'm sure you've all been to a party where there's the social butterfly walking around introducing everybody. The most important thing to them really is the connection, the relationship. Mm-hmm. And so I use colors. So when I mentioned earlier that presenting for me is like a game of chess. I make a move, they make a move, meaning that I start a conversation and I will identify someone very quickly within just a few minutes. I can pretty much tell if they make decisions based on knowledge because they start asking me questions that I have to be prepared for. If I'm not prepared, number one, you don't want to look foolish. Now, you're not going to know everything when you're just starting. That's what your sponsor's for. Okay. But you want to try to get enough knowledge as quickly as possible about your company, product, pay plan, and so forth. So you're coming from a position of strength. All right. But yes, you identify that person. You made a comment right now, their needs. If you address the individual's needs, they'll listen. If you are talking about everything else, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So you quickly want to find out what their needs are. And frankly, most people, we really don't know what their needs are. It could be lack of health, got a challenge with their health. It could be financial, their financial position right now, they're struggling and they need to make some extra money. So you quickly want to find out what those needs are and address their needs.
Yeah, it's a big difference between the need and maybe the want or something that is there, as a bonus for somebody. How do you get to know what is the need actually of that person? Do you have some specific questions to get to that?
Trigger questions where they need to answer. How do you feel? What do you think? What's your opinion? People enjoy giving their opinion. So when you ask someone for their opinion, most people will give it to you. And so, you start talking to them and you ask them, what do you think about this? How do you feel about that? And what's your opinion? And listen as much as you talk. A lot of times we just want to talk. And I understand because the emotion is there and you want so bad to sign that person up or you want to sell your product or service, but you've got to listen. That's the only way you're going to find out what their needs are. So ask some trigger questions.
And let's speak about the color metric. This is very interesting what you mentioned, that based on the questions they ask you, you can figure out in which category you put them. Are they emotional? How do you do that? What are those questions? Can you give us some examples?
Generally, in my conversations with people when I'm prospecting, we'll go one of two directions because I'm in the health and wellness business. I love health and wellness because it's one of the three things every human being aspires for in life is a life of good health. The other is a life of financial independence or financial freedom, where you can live a life of contribution, not a life of survival. And three is happiness. And so when I'm talking to someone about my particular product, if they start getting technical with me, because sometimes I don't even know what their career is. I've sat next to celebrities on the airplane. I've sat next to medical doctors. They're all different, right? So if they start asking me technical questions, all right, then I know that they're what I call color green. They base their decisions on knowledge, not emotion. But if I tell them, for example, I'm in the health and wellness business and I help people establish a life of good health that's already healthy to prevent having health problems. And all of a sudden, if they tell me like, oh, their dream is to have a retreat, of health and wellness, I can tell that they're an emotional person. I had a lady one time start crying when I told her that I was in health and wellness and even animal health. She a tear came down her and she goes, I love cats. I am just a cat. So I could tell right away she was emotional. Her decisions are based on emotion. What do? Stories, benefits. I'm not going to get technical with it because at that point I might chase her off. So you try to identify if they're an emotional person. You can tell pretty quickly. If they talk a lot, they're a socializer. If they're a socializer, they're going to buy you first. They're going to buy you more than they're even going to buy your product. I had one person tell me, I like you. I'm just going to sign up because I like you. I'm like, okay, fine. If that's what it takes to start, great. So, but yeah, it's like playing a game of chess. You have to make your move and then listen. It's a conversation. At the end of the day, what are you trying to accomplish? You want to bring them into your network, into your community, and you want to start working with them. So first you establish friendship. That's the first thing. Okay. And I think all of us, can get pretty good at establishing friendship. That's not a difficult thing to do. Speak from the heart, be sincere, be kind, those things. It's the trust that's next. To establish trust, it takes time. So that's where you have to be a good sponsor. You have to be there for them, answer their questions. You have to show them that you are really interested in them, their future, because your success depends upon their success. So there's a process to it, and that's one of those things that takes time. It doesn't happen in a day.
What's the way to build trust even before you sign someone as a sponsor? As you mentioned, there's first being a friend with someone maybe who is there not signed before they sign. So to build this trust in the business, in the process that you do, like in everything that you do, so they're eager to join. Do you have anything like that or any system?
Well, yeah, first of all, I'd say, if you want to build a network, number one, you have to get connected and stay connected. The number one reason people don't succeed in this business is they become disconnected and they try to do it all by themselves, and they're out there on this island trying to figure it all out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, strength in numbers, right? So you want to get connected. Find your connection, find your tribe, some people say. But you need to also look at who you want to associate yourself with in your company, in your community, in your network that you're building. And sometimes that's even cross-line. I mean, I'm a real big fan. I support everybody. I don't have much cross-line where I'm at because I began the first year the company opened, and pretty much everyone's an organization. But I teach my people, your cross-line, look, it's really important, the whole teamwork. You guys know that. We all know that in network marketing. But remember, you are who you associate yourself with. So find those people that are consistent. They're there. They come to the table. They're doing trainings. They're motivating. They're doing it all. And you associate with them. I tell people, count the 5 people that you associate with the most in your life right now. Just think of those 5 people that you are around the most, that you hang out with, that you socialize with. Your income is closely going to match their income, you see. So find someone that raises you up, that makes you want to move up, all right? So that's the first thing. Get connected. Find out who you want to associate yourself with, a mentor, so to speak. There's a lot of them. There's even those out there that are mentors in the industry that don't necessarily represent one company. I have my personal opinion about that because, there's sizzle and steak. You can provide sizzle. I say sizzle. You guys have gone to a steakhouse and you hear the steak coming down the aisle where it's going, tss. That's the emotion. That's the excitement. Your mouth starts watering because you want to sink your teeth into that steak. But it's the actual steak that feeds you. So I like providing not just the sizzle, but the actual vehicle for the person so that they can now come into this vehicle, get the rest of the sizzle, get the motivation, get the training, follow the system, learn all that. But you're also providing them the vehicle itself where they can build their legacy in that vehicle. And I don't know if we want to talk about today, but to me, one of the most important aspects of this business is your partner. And I'm not talking about your sponsor.
Yes.
I'm talking about the company you represent. They pay you. The ones that pay you. The ones that your life will depend upon. That is your real partner in business. And unfortunately, people get involved, in network marketing and they don't even really know who their partner is. And then they wonder when it crashes, what happened? And nobody blames themselves. No one says, well, I guess I didn't really even know who was running the company, So, it's always someone else's fault. Usually you go to your sponsor, the one that got you into it. You got me into that. I don't like you anymore, So, know your partner, know who you're working with. You are who you associate yourself with, and then of course you do want to work with people that have some sort of system in place where you can go through the steps of development. That's key, and duplication. So there's a lot to talk about.
Let's speak about, you mentioned now choosing the partner, you call it a partner, like the company, network marketing company. And you're the perfect person to speak about that because like as I said in the intro, you had this bounce period, like going from company to company. How can someone choose the right fit for them? An additional question to you would be, because you are nearly 30 years in the industry and you see, yeah, it's
44
been,
years actually. I began in 1981, and
yeah,
the first 18 years I did go through a few companies. That wasn't by choice, by the way. The first company I was with, the founder died, and this happens. It's life. A Japanese firm came in and purchased this company, and they destroyed it. They tried to turn it into a conventional business, traditional business, didn't even understand network marketing, and they destroyed it. So that was my first experience. And the next one was short lived because it was mismanaged. The third one, the same thing pretty much, although I did make a lot of money in the third one. Unfortunately, the wrong culture, bad culture. It was more of a culture of who had the best Ferrari and who could buy the first airplane. And I mean, I even had a plane, a yacht, Mercedes, BMW, a house on the beach, lost it all, lost everything, and started all over again. And that's when I got smart. And I thought, you know what? Number one, it's not the business model's fault that I went through these series of, I wouldn't say failures, mishaps. It's not the business model's fault. The business model of network marketing is ingenious. It's amazing for someone that wants to earn an above average income, right? And compress time, meaning that you focus on one thing only. You don't have to deal with all the heavy lifting and running a business, just one thing. When you can focus on one thing, you can accomplish more in a less period of time. But the challenge is you got to find that right partner. Who's your partner? The one that makes all the decisions from, what markets they're going to open, how much they're going to pay, what's their honesty. I mean, I see founders of companies in network marketing that have changed their pay plan a dozen times. It's like, what's it going to be? What flavor of the month next month? And so here's what I think the most important things to look at. When you look at a company, understand, number one, whoever's starting that company, there are people that started it. You can start your own if you want. Anybody can start a company. So the question is, one, what's their experience? Two, and that you understand that by trying to look at some history. I've got some names of people that I would never even get close to, wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole, because every company they've started has failed. You see? So I look at one, what's their history? Two, you can kind of tell someone what they've done in their community, how, because people tend to know them in the business community and so forth. But the main thing is, what is their strategy? So the company I'm currently with, when I joined, before I actually joined, I went and interviewed the founder. And I just said, look, I have two questions. One, what's your exit strategy? Meaning that, are you going to build this up and sell it? Because that's what a lot of people do. They start a company, and when it becomes valuable, worth billions of dollars, they sell it. What does that leave the distributors? New culture, new people, new changes. This industry is very fickle. People come and go. No one is employed in their network. They're there by choice, so they can go wherever they want. And so, number one, what's the exit strategy? Number two, public. Is the company planning on going public on the stock exchange? Well, I look for someone who wants to build a legacy, right? And Rich DeVos, you look at Amway, it's all about building a legacy. It wasn't about building it and selling it off. But then going public, I don't know if you guys know the Herbalife story, but Bill Ackman just about took down Herbalife. If it wasn't for Carl Icahn, these are billionaires, multi-billionaires. If Icahn hadn't stepped in and bought all the shares to basically become the chairman of the board at Herbalife, they would have gone down. And this was just recently, just not that long ago. So being public doesn't fare well in our industry. Stay private, and it's all about a legacy, building a legacy. I've been where I am for 27 years now.
And where do you think this industry is going? Because we see a lot of companies that are going to affiliate model. Some of them are unfortunately even ditching the whole distributor model, which is a nonsense a bit, but they think it would work other way. What do you think that this industry is developing, and what is important? Like, because we see that it's more product driven now. And what are your thoughts on the industry itself?
Yeah, Beachbody just did that, by the way. They just went to affiliate marketing, and it's sad because those that built teams, obviously you build a team because the residual income getting paid on levels down below that you've built and trained and worked with these people. And so, you never know what the future holds, but one of the best, ways to kind of, I guess, judge, look at the future is from the past. Historically, there've been a lot of changes, with social media and so forth. You got these influencers now that have millions of people that follow them, and but that's historically, that's kind of the same with endorsements. You got professional athletes that get endorsed, and it's just a different platform. It was on television with Nike shoes, Air Jordan, whatever, and now it's on a podcast, Joe Rogan or one of the podcasts. So just a different platform. I personally, this is my personal feeling, humans are humans. No matter where we go in the future, we're still human. And human beings need to be connected. We need each other, okay? Look at COVID. How many people suffered when they were quarantined? It really affected a lot of people. So I'm a big fan of real networking, developing the relationships long-term. And to do that, you have to have a bit of an understanding with people because they come and go. It's a revolving door. People come, people go. Number one, don't burn bridges unless you have to. If someone's trying to harm you, then you have no choice. Leave your door open. Don't be offended. If someone comes and they decide to go try something else, as long as they're they're behaving and they're not trying to tear apart your organization, I wish success for everybody. Things have changed, there's no doubt. So we have to learn to adapt. I'm 65 years old. I've had to learn to adapt. I'm an old school networker. I have had to adapt to the Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and I'm in the process of developing a whole new system now. There's like a funnel, if you will, to help people come in and get in and learn and so forth. But it is about change. One thing constant in life is change. So we have to be able to adapt, overcome the challenges, and it's just about development. I love that word, development. So yeah, social media, for me, was a totally new thing. And I'm still learning. It seems like, man, trying to understand the Meta platform and understand, the TikTok and the YouTube and try to tie it all together. It's like I want to pull my hair out sometimes.
What is your current approach to recruiting? How do you recruit new team members? Is it mostly using social media? You mentioned some funnel that you're creating. What's the main thing?
I'm a big fan of OPP, other people's people. Just as talking to you, and we sat next to each other on a flight, from Prague to Berlin, and we're talking. Well, if I can get you interested in what I'm doing, my goal is to get into your market of people. People I don't know. We never lack people. There's plenty of resources when it comes to people. So I'm just a big fan of penetrating into your market, your circle of influence. And if I do that, we have to do it together because these people, I don't know them. And so a lot happens. There's a lot of dynamic involved in there because now I'm working with you. I'm getting that trust with you because if you bring someone to the table and I give a great presentation and we get them involved in our community, in our network, our family, and we have some success together, do you think you'll bring someone else to the table? Of course. If you bring someone to the table and I do a horrible job, you're probably not going to bring anybody else. So that's the way I network. OPP, other people's people. That's number one, my number one method. Number two, you can use social media. Just try to get out there because there's all kinds of communities. Everybody belongs to some sort of network, whether it's church, whether it's a cooking class online, whether they go to school, everyone, we're social people. So everyone is in some sort of network. All right. It could be sports. Maybe they go play softball or soccer on the weekends, but you've got friends. So I tell people socialize, even join a cooking class on social media, or a sewing class or a arts and crafts or whatever. I'm part of a big dog animal community. Everyone in there. I've got a pit bull that I love, and Odin, and so I'm part of that. You interact with people, okay? But when it comes to social media and you're trying to get attraction marketing, use curiosity. If you're new at this, don't show the person the name of your company or your product right away. Because what are they going to do? They're going to go Google it. They're going to avoid you until they can do some research on it. But if you show something, they can't exactly see what it is. Like I could put a capsule in this and I could tell you what the benefits of this product is by just showing the capsule. It says trillions of messenger molecules for your immune system. Here's what it does for you. Well, I create curiosity. Or I could say something like, I just found out a way to build a home-based business, multinational, using the tools that are available, and people are making a lot of money doing this. Curiosity. So somebody wants to know more. So you want to try to get them to come to you. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, you still have to sell yourself. You see, you're going to have to talk to them. You're going to have to show your face to them at some point. You can't hide forever. That's where your skills come in. Jim Rohn, one of my favorite mentors, and I knew him actually personally, back in the 80s. He said to me one time, if you want to increase your pocketbook, if you want to develop your economic position or better your economic position, focus on yourself, right? Develop yourself, your skills. He was real big on skill development. So, but yeah, social media, use curiosity, get involved in groups, start making friends on there. I got some people that are really good at that. They just find a group and jump on in and start talking to people, and you got to be careful because you can get kicked out if you're too aggressive with people right away. Because like, oh, we don't want you in here. So there is an art to that as well, but you just do it and you get better at it the more you do it.
So those are cold contacts that you approach just like showing curiosity and kind of like making, let's call it friendship. And then after that, you pitch the business.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. 2 examples real quick. I just got back from Singapore a couple of weeks ago. Almost a 17-hour flight. I arrive in San Francisco. By the time I clear customs, it's 11 o'clock at night. Well, there was no late flight, so I basically had to spend the night to catch a 6 a.m. flight to San Diego. So I just, my wife and I just, we booked a room at the hotel, got there real quick, got maybe 4 hours of sleep. And I booked an Uber the next morning to be at 4 o'clock in the morning in front of the lobby to pick us up. I walk out, the gentleman's there, and I make a comment to him. I simply say, "Good morning. You're working early this morning, aren't you?" And he said, "No, I've been working for a couple of hours. Already made a couple of runs to the airport." He helped me with my bags. I got in. We're 5 minutes to the airport. And I jump in. I have a choice. I can keep my mouth shut and not do anything. But I remember you even said this when you introduced me. Networking isn't what I do. It's who I am. It's in my blood. So I'm conversing with the guy. By the time I talked to him about coming back from Singapore, what I do and so forth in 5 minutes, his last words to me, "If I want to work with you, what do I need to do?" I said to my wife, "Sweetie, can you pull a card out and give it to him? And we'll talk later because obviously I have to catch a flight." That's networking. You see? So it's all about developing habits. There's so many opportunities that are lost because people really aren't networking. You see, your business is always open. That's one. Another one was when I was in Brazil last month. It was again an Uber driver. Uber drivers are great. You got to talk. And so this was a young man who had a family. He's going to college. And he's the same thing. He said, "Can I have your card? I want to know more." You develop those skills where people are like, man, think about it. Who wouldn't want to have a home-based business, multinational, all the freedom, all the benefits, everything you get, along with a residual income, unlimited income, all those things that you can do in networking? Who wouldn't want that? Problem is they just don't know how to do it. So when you find someone that's willing to teach you how to do it, seize the opportunity.
And what's some of the other things that you are doing? Are you doing events? Do you think that events still work?
Oh yeah, no,
Some
events are great. I love, events are fun. I just did one, as I mentioned, I was in Malaysia and Singapore. I did an event over there last month, and thousands of people come. So I think because of COVID, everybody started cocooning more, trying to do everything online, social media. I think it's coming full circle. I think people are realizing that some benefit from that. There are those that had they started their podcasts. All right. I mean, I'm a big fan of some people like Peter Attia. These are people over here well, he's actually Canadian, but here in the US, Andrew Huberman. These are guys that are more in the medical type of community, their podcasts. They were really good at getting good guests. And so today they've got millions of followers. There are a few that established that during COVID because they couldn't. And these are educators, by the way, either medical doctors or educators. So they just changed platform from a classroom to using the camera. But for the average person, many have tried it. It's coming back full circle. The best thing that you can do, again, you're 35% more effective in person. So I am a big fan of events, but I'm also a big fan of this. You guys are in Prague. I'm here in San Diego. Look what we're doing. So use the tools that are there, but don't become 100% dependent on one particular tool. Every single tool has its place, but the one you want to keep the sharpest is you, so better yourself. So when it comes to events, they're really good because there's emotion, there's feeling, and you get people involved in your event. You don't do it by yourself. You see, involvement creates commitment. So you get people involved. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of events.
You're doing this for so long. Do you notice that this industry changed over these years? Or let me rephrase it like this. What are the skills that are necessary? How different was it before and now for people to excel in network marketing? Would you say those are the same skills, or you have to know more because of the social media and stuff like that?
No, there's no doubt about it that things have gone from doing a napkin presentation, we called it back in the 80s. Hey, meet me at the local coffee shop, one-on-one, or maybe you bring a friend and you sit down and you pitch them, you talk to them, and you write it out on a napkin, show them a little bit of some circles and numbers and how you're going to make money. And then maybe you get them to a hotel room, do your meeting once a week, and that's expensive because you got to pay the hotel. There's a place over here called Denny's, which is always pretty cheap. They usually had a room in the back that you can get just by simply buying something to drink. So you have to be creative sometimes, but those are the old days. I still love doing that. I love when someone's coming through San Diego, even new people have signed up. I've got a lady from Brazil that's going to be coming through here over our Thanksgiving and here in a couple weeks. And I'm going to meet up with her and have lunch and so forth. So I love the connection. I love meeting people. But from those old days of the napkin presentation, now with the advent of social media and doing Zooms and so forth, you do want to use those tools. So yeah, you want to have a presence on social media. And I'll be honest, that's not my strength. I've had to learn. And I basically have people helping me now that are really good social media. I'm not going to say influencers. They just know a lot. They've taken classes and so forth. And for me, it's really just knowing more about, okay, how to drip on people, obviously, you're putting up posts and so forth, you're keeping people connected, and people move around. Not so many people use Facebook anymore. They moved over to TikTok, or maybe they're using Instagram. I didn't realize it, but I think the number 2 search engine, which is maybe even number 1 now, is YouTube. So these things evolve. They're very fluid. So you have to stay on top of it. And that's the other thing. You look at companies that have been billion-dollar companies that aren't even around anymore. Why? They didn't adapt. They did not. You guys remember Blockbuster Video?
Yep.
They're gone. Netflix put them out of business. And that all began because some guy was late on taking his video back, and they wanted him to charge him so much money for late fees. It was more than what the video cost. He says, well, I'll just buy the video. They said, no, you're going to pay all those late fees. He said, I'm going to put you out of business. And he started Netflix. So it's all about adaptation, being on top of it. And so I'm going through that right now, trying to, figure out a lot of these social media platforms. And there may be something new that comes along. So yeah, it's a constant evolution that you want to, it's development. I love that word, development. And even in this industry of networking, there's a bit of a false um, messaging, if you will, out there to people that, hey, jump in network marketing, get rich in a few years and retire. No, it's a business. Now there is an element of mystery. I know people that actually have gotten involved in a company, happen to be blessed and fortunate to either sponsor someone, or they might have even been somebody who came up with an idea of a product, and they basically retired after a year. They make $100 million a year. It can happen, but it's not probable. Possible, but not probable.
It's hard
So
work. It's business like any other.
That's right. Treat it, I used to say treat it like a business, but at the same time, a lot of people go, well, I've never had a business. So I kind of say, well, treat it like your life depends on it.
So what I'm curious, because you're largely successful in what you do, and for many people that would be enough to just chill around and do as much as they can. But now you're doing conferences, you're adapting to everything, for example, social media, something that probably you don't even need to do, but you're still doing it. And you mentioned this funnel that you're creating. What propels you to do this? Like what is your motivation to keep going
That's a great question. I'm very glad you asked that question. There's one word: purpose. I know people that are billionaires and many millionaires, and some of them are unhappy. They got all the money in the world. Why are they unhappy? Because they never learn how to contribute. You see, I mentioned earlier the three things in life people aspire for. One is to live a life of health. People want to have health span, not just lifespan. You don't want to live long. You want to live long and healthy. All right. So the second is financial freedom. And this is why I hate lotteries, because people that win a lottery, most of them end up either dead or dead broke, within a few years after they've won the money, because there's no development. They didn't earn it, you see. So there has to be a purpose. So it's about contribution, moving from a life of survival to a life of contribution. And when you learn to contribute, the third is happiness. You're going to find that if you're healthy and you feel great, you're wealthy, financially independent, so you don't have to worry about finances, and you're contributing, there's purpose, you're going to be happy, you see. And so that's what drives me, is purpose. I tell my people that every day. In fact, sometimes I get so emotional about it. I'm so grateful for my organization. A lot of people all over 100 countries. Very, very grateful for all of them. They love me. I love them. And I made a promise when I started 27 years ago with where I'm at now. I will never leave you, ever. All right? I will never abandon you. Now, you might leave me. It's a revolving door. People come and go, but I'll always be here. The funny thing is, I have people calling me now after 15 years, and they say they're ready. Now they're ready to do something. Great, I'm here. I've always been here. So whenever you're ready, let's go. So purpose. The one word is purpose.
Dave, you have 5 kids. How was it for you to build a network marketing career with such a big family, or that happened after? Or can you speak about that?
No.
The importance of family in network marketing.
Yeah. My youngest is 22 and my oldest is 35. So you go back, 27 years ago. Diana, my oldest, she probably can remember the most, because I was broke. In fact, I had a saying, I'm so broke I can't even pay attention. It was bad, but I never gave up. I was looking for the right partner. So my oldest kids remember those days, and I think they appreciate it. Now, my youngest ones, they were born in the company I'm with, and so to them, it's normal to travel first class in a bed. It's normal to just say, "Hey, let's go to Japan on vacation." So I've had to kind of try to teach them a bit more that that's not generally normal, and to have an appreciation for it. But to answer your question, it really comes down to partnership. I've got a great wife, Gabby. She's my business partner. I consider her a domestic engineer to raise 5 kids, because in the early days, I was out doing media. Because keep in mind, 1998, there was no Zoom, no social media. I think Hotmail was just starting. That was it. So it was either on the phone, which was my number one tool because I didn't have the money to travel yet. But as soon as I was making some money, I'd go out and meet with people and do presentations and so forth. But she held the fort down here at home with the kids. And then, we tried to take the kids with us. I'd take them out of school sometimes when I started making some money. I would take them out and take them on a foreign trip. They learn more, going to Europe than they do sitting in a classroom. So, but yeah, we've been blessed. We've got 5 wonderful kids, and they're all unique. One's an artist, one's an athlete, one's a business person or entrepreneur. You never know. But as a parent, I can't complain. We've been very,
Would,
very
would, would you say that having children and having that responsibility pushed you to be even better in network marketing? Because we had a guy on and he said that he intentionally married when he was 22, and the reason for it is he needed responsibility, and he said, like, having a family, having to take care of this responsibility made me a better man, because he had to become a better man. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Obviously, when you're married and have children, there is a responsibility there, and that's a responsibility you have to take seriously. For me, I think one of the motivations, underlying motivations for me was the fact that when I was growing up, I grew up in a lower middle class family. We had food, but my dad, tried different things and bounced around, and he was broke a lot. I would always hear about how broke he was. And I thought to myself, then my grandfather, his dad, basically died from alcoholism. That killed him, and he died broke, had nothing. And I thought, someone has to break that tradition. Somebody has to be the one to change the direction, of the family, of your prosperity. And I was, very fortunate to find network marketing at a young age and stuck with it and had good mentors. But yeah, family definitely gives you a sense of responsibility, no doubt about it. You look at your kids and you want to make sure you provide for them. You want them to have the best. Who doesn't? So then there are those that are just the opposite. They don't want to get married at all because they don't want the responsibility.
Yeah.
A lot of young people are that way today. In fact, I think the younger generation today, Gen Z, they want to stay at home even when they're 30 years old. They want to live with mom and dad. And rightfully so in some cases, because they can't afford to even go get their own house these days.
Yeah. And Dave, when you look at back now, what is your proudest moment? What would you say?
Probably when I had my entire family on stage, when I hit the top in 2008. Forgive me, I'm going to brag for a minute here now. But I joined in 1998, in 2008. No, I'm sorry, 2006. 2006, I made it to the top, and my entire family came on stage. And this was great because it was at a place called the Gaylord Palms in Florida, this huge resort, just a beautiful setting. And all of us up on stage, made me cry. And just receiving that recognition, and just feeling the love from everybody, that, it was a very proud moment for me. And I even think for my kids, they always look back at that and they remember that.
And what's next for you? What would you like? I know you said you want to stay in business, but do you have some plan?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have a plan. You always have a plan. Look, I enjoy building millionaires. Currently, I've got over 200 of them that I've, over the years that I've been able to work with, and I have helped either help get them started or travel the journey. I look at myself really as a journeyman. I find someone or a group of people and climb the mountain of success with them. And I'm a big fan of independence. I am not one to control anybody. If you want to write 10 books on network marketing and you want to do your own podcasts and build your own, get all the recognition and everything, my definition of success is helping somebody else achieve their dreams and goals and let them have all the credit for it. I have no problem with that. So I find people, climb the mountain of success, and go down and find someone else. So I'm always, I've got a new team right now that I've started. I've got a lady in the Caribbean Ocean. She's in St. Martin. She's never sponsored one person. It's like 30,000 people on the French side of St. Martin. Hasn't sponsored one person there that I know of. And yet she's got this organization all over the world using the tools, and in fact, she just got back from one of our trips. I didn't go on this one. I've been to 106 countries, so I spend my time now. I do travel, but spend my time doing this a lot. But she just got back from one of our trips in Mexico that she won. And yet she's in a little island in the Caribbean Ocean, but she came from Avon. You guys heard of Avon, right?
Yep.
Look, timing is everything. Timing is everything. She was in a car accident. She was a top recruiter for Avon, a top trainer for Avon. She developed a lot of the tools, even the social media platforms. And she was in a car accident and was seriously injured. She ended up losing because she was corporate, lost her job, and finally, got back on her feet. And she was all of a sudden looking for something. We got her at the right time. She's one of my new superstars. So if you think about it, to get her up the mountain, working with her, traveling that journey, it's going to take years. It doesn't happen overnight. So once we get there, and the one thing I'll say, again, I'm bragging a little bit, but my people do love me. And they always recognize the fact that I helped them in the beginning, even though some are very independent. They don't call me anymore. I got some of my top leaders that are like, I talked to one, he was on that same trip in Mexico. He just went there for fun. And I connected with him a couple of days ago, and we talked. And I connect with some of these guys once, I don't know, every 3, 4, 5 months. But they've got huge teams. I got people that have made $100 million. So anyhow, that's what I do. Climb the mountain, go back, find someone else.
You're the proof, Dave, that what Tony Robbins is saying, it's all about giving, and the fact of that you are still doing this after 30 years, and it gives you this sense of contribution when you recruit someone and help them get on top. It just tells how this purpose is playing a huge role and how can get you going. Like, still, it's incredible to see. And thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being a guest on our podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I always enjoy doing this. It's fun. I want to be a good ambassador to the industry. Unfortunately, it does get a bit of a black eye because, a lot of people don't really understand network marketing.
Yeah.
And, they get involved and a company goes out of business, whatever happens. And so, it is, to me, it's the most wonderful business in the world. If anything, it's the world's greatest personal development course there is.
Amen to that. And that's one of the reasons why we are doing this, because this industry is so, how to say, has a bad rap, but I cannot find any other industry that's just better, because you have people here who are working on themselves, trying to improve constantly, plus having the possibility to earn a lot of money, help other people. It's generally a very positive industry, but has such a bad reputation because of a few bad apples that exist everywhere. So basically we plan to, that's why we do all of this, so to help these people, as you are doing, like learn the skills, learn the tools, so that they can succeed in this network marketing world and build something for themselves.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.